everyone. We did the play of Medea by Euripides. My name is Summer Dayton.
I'm Rebecca Chickering.
Eileen Garcia.
Abby Chkowski.
And also, I'm actually not sure if I don't think it's a play. I didn't mean to say that. It's a story. We're going to go with that. Okay. Basically, I'm going to describe the characters to you guys. So Medea is the main character. She's an enchantress. She is the daughter of King Euripides. And she is also the granddaughter of the god Helios. So she has some magical powers a little bit. She's a gift of prophecy. She also marries Jason, who is a Greek hero. He leads the Argonauts, who are basically a group of men that he takes around with him and conquers places. His most famous expedition was with Medea to get the Golden Fleece, which she helped him to do. And then they had two children together, which were just two little boys who really don't say much in the play and are also unnamed. Then we have Glauce, who she isn't specifically named in this text, but she is the daughter of King Creon of Corinth, and according to Greek mythology, that is her name, but we're just going to call her that in this presentation, so it's a little bit easier. So yeah, she's just the princess who Jason leaves Medea for, and this causes a lot of conflict in the play. Then there's King Creon, who's the king of Corinth, and Princess Glauce's father. And we have the chorus, who are pretty much a group of women who live in Corinth and kind of converse with Medea throughout the play and give their opinions on her thoughts and her feelings, and end up pretty much supporting her throughout the whole thing. And then we have Aegeus, who's the king of Athens, who Medea ends up bribing in order to seek refuge in Athens after she commits the crimes she's wanting to commit. Then we have a couple more minor characters. The messenger basically is just the guy who delivers one message in the play, but it's a pretty important one. And then we have the nurse, who's Medea's nurse, takes care of her children. He's also a companion of hers. She cares about Medea and her well-being. And then we have Pedagogue, who is also an assistant to Medea's family, but he's technically a slave, but he helps out with the children. So basically, Medea and Jason have a little history, as I was saying a little bit. Medea helped him in his expedition to get the Golden Fleece, but she was actually helping him do that against her family. She even kills her own brother on the escape so that they can stop and bury him and so that takes them longer to catch up. And convinces Jason's uncle's daughters, it's like her cousin-in-laws, I guess, to kill their father. Basically, she was just trying to create more conflict so that they could succeed in their mission, because she was so in love with Jason. But this all comes to nothing because Jason ends up, the story starts out with Jason totally betraying her, leaving her and the children to marry Glauce. So it starts out with Medea screaming and crying, and the nurse kind of venting to Pedagogue about all of the bad things that are happening, and it's just kind of mentally processing all of it and just saying how much she wishes that Medea and Jason had never even met because she did so many things for him, but he didn't care and betrayed her anyways. So basically Medea is in turmoil and wishing death upon herself and crying out to the gods. So this is in Corinth, and then King Creon, the king of Corinth, banishes her because he's afraid that she's going to take revenge. But then Medea pleads with him to get one more day. She's like, just give me one more day to be here and to get my things together and stuff like that to get out of Corinth. And so he has pity on her and gives her one more day. But then in this one day, she plans her master revenge plan, which initially is to kill the king himself and Jason and his new wife. But then Jason comes to Medea and he tells her how dramatic she's being and tells her that she needs to take a chill pill, basically. And it's not that big of a deal, that he did this for everyone's best interest, that he married into the royal family so that they can have more money. But she knows he's lying. She knows that he's just making that up and calls him selfish and stuff like that. But then she ends up realizing that she could use this to her advantage. And she tells Jason that she forgives him and she wants everyone to be at peace with each other. And so she gives him gifts for his new wife, which is a crown and a dress. And Jason tells his wife to take them so that everyone can have peace, even though she doesn't want to at first, but she ends up taking them because her husband is telling her to, but they are actually poisoned and end up killing her in a terrible, slow death. And then her father, King Creon, comes over and is obviously really grieved and also dies because he consumes the poison after crying over her. So after this happens, then the messenger comes out and he just he gives all of the details about this death, and it's like this long monologue of all of the gruesome details of how they died. And this sort of feeds Medea's fire even more and gives her the strength to go even further in this revenge plan. And that is to kill her children. She decided that would hurt Jason more than killing him. And the chorus tries to fight her on this, but then eventually they accept it and they support her. So then Glauce and her dad are dead, and Medea goes ahead and she runs into King Aegeus first, and she bribes him for safety in Athens after she kills her children, and so she gives him drugs for fertility so that she can stay and kill her children and then escape. But it's basically she killed her children, and then she flies away on a dragon chariot given to her by her grandfather Helios, and Jason is left in absolute turmoil because everything that he's ever loved is gone.
Alright, so I get to talk about our prime passages, and the first one we have is at the beginning of the story, and Medea is describing her pain and her sorrow and what has happened to her. And she says, "They say that we, women, live a life free of danger at home while they, men, face battle with the spear. How wrong they are. I would rather stand 3 times in the line of battle than one spare child. But the same story does not apply to you and me. You have the city and your father's home, enjoyment of life, and the companionship of friends. But, alone and without a city, I am abused by my husband, carried off as plunder from a foreign land. I have no mother, no brother, no relative to offer me a safe haven from this disaster." And so, first of all, Medea reminds us that, while men are usually seen as the big heroes who go and protect the women and keep them safe and they fight on the battlefield, women still face their own challenges at home, from childbirth to dealing with sometimes an abusive husband to raising those children. And so even though we may not be on the front lines of the battle, we still have our own challenges. And then secondly, Medea is vividly describing her pain, and it's kind of justifying why she's about to do what she's about to do. And then the first poetic passage we have is the chorus talking about what's about to happen to the princess. And they say, "The bride will receive the gifts the poor woman will take, the doom of the golden diadem. Onto her golden hair she will put death's adornment, taking it into her own hands. The beauty of an unfading glow of the golden robe will persuade her to put on the well-crafted crown. She will dress as a bride now for the dead below." And so this passage demonstrates the irony of the princess's situation. She is dressing up as if she was getting ready for her wedding day, and your wedding day is usually one of the happiest days of your life, but what the bride doesn't realize is that when she puts on those clothes, she will experience one of the most painful and awful and saddest days of her life.
I will be reading passage 2, and I picked this one because it just really stood out to me because of the sadness that she was going through, and it is, "As he approaches, well, there's my mistress, long time slave. Why are you standing here alone in front of the doors grumbling about your troubles to yourself? How is it that Medea is willing to be left on her own?" And the nurse says, "Look, you've cared for Jason's children all these years, and you know that when the masters are in trouble, good slaves share in the disaster, and their hearts are touched too. Such deep sadness came over me that I needed to come out here and tell earth and sky these sorrows my mistress is suffering. And that last sentence really stood out because the passage is so downhearted, and then the nurse is talking about the sadness that she has overcame throughout what's been going on, while Pedagogue is confused on why the nurse is talking to herself about her problems. And then passage 3 is, do you know how to change your prayer and appear wiser? Pray that good things should never seem painful to you, and being well off, not to think that you are suffering misfortune. Medea says, carry on with your abuse, since you have a way out, but I am abandoned and still from this country. During this passage, she has gone through a lot and is calling Jason out on his abuse because she has been abused throughout this entire relationship, from everything that he's made her do and everything, and then she's abandoned, she's left with nothing, no family, nothing.
Okay, so I chose this passage. It just stood out to me. It's the nurse and Pedagogue talking in the beginning. The nurse says, children, do you hear what kind of man your father is to you? Damn him. But no, I can't say that. He's my master. Still, he has turned out to be a traitor to his family. And Pedagogue says, what else do you expect? Are you just figuring out that everyone loves himself more than his neighbor? Their father doesn't care about these children now that he has a new wife. So this passage was just sad to me because there's people now that I think still have this mentality. They've just sort of given up on humanity. And it's just kind of the reality of where we're at, of human nature, of that most people, like we're all born sinful, and we don't love our neighbors more than ourselves naturally, and that's something we have to fight against. And just the fact that Pedagogue had accepted that and wasn't even surprised that Jason had betrayed his family because he was just so used to the fault of humanity. So it was just really sad.
So some patterns and themes that we see in the story are infidelity, where Jason betrays Medea and remarries and goes to Princess Clarke, and also when Medea is deceived after killing all her family, still Jason betrays her. We also see pain throughout the whole story, where Medea is in pain and she's in so much anger, and she wants to get back to Jason. And then Cleo's. So Medea intends to get Cleo. She intends to get honor by revenging, by going against Jason, and doing that she kills her own children. Also Homeric simile, and it says that right hand, how fervently you were taken, and this sneeze, how futilely I was clung to in supplication by an evil man. So here Medea is telling Jason that even my knees and my hands are not even part of myself because they're full of hatred and I can't control them. We also see a lot of death throughout the story. Since the beginning, where Medea killed her entire family to be with Jason, and towards the end where Medea kills King Creon, Princess Clarke, and her children as well.
Yeah. Basically, this story is a lot of revenge, and it shows that betrayal is not the way to go. Medea, it starts out with her betraying her own family, which leads to her getting betrayed, which leads to him getting betrayed. So betrayal is not good. It's pretty much a big thing we could learn from this, and to love your neighbor more than yourself. But that's all we have for you guys. Thank you for listening to us.